Welcome to Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff. This show is designed to highlight the work of philanthropic leaders here in the United States and then beyond. Today with us, Noelle Xie. And Noelle is a woman who has been knighted into the French Legion of Honor by President Macron in the year 2019. Noelle is a global advocate for peace and development. She also is an art curator. Let's all welcome Noelle.
I'm here just to represent myself. My views are not representing any government or any organizations. They are my own opinions.
And Noelle, it is a great honor and privilege to have you back on Successful Philanthropy. I'd like to first start again with a little bit of your background because it's so very interesting. And for those who have not seen this show before, I think you'll love hearing a little bit about all the different work she does. But first, where she was born and where she lives today.
Thank you so much, Jean, for this wonderful introduction. It has been a pleasure last time when we had our first conversation 2 years ago, and I'm very happy to be back here again.
Yes, now you were born in the country of China, and you were also schooled there, and now you are an American citizen. Well, people find this very interesting. Tell us a little bit about your background and your education in China.
Yes, I was born in Shanghai, China, grew up in the most cosmopolitan city in China. During those days, of course, China was very different before this fast economic boom. But those days, still, we had in Shanghai, we had a good opportunity to receive a good education. And this is where I learned English and French to prepare myself to continue my education in Paris. I went to Sorbonne Law School. And then later I started my career with the United Nations, first Geneva, Switzerland. Then I continued in New York. Then I also went to Africa.
They're all very, very interesting. And today you are a global advocate, and specifically, you mentioned development and peace. And how do you go about doing all of the work that you do?
So maybe I can give you a concrete example. A few years ago, I worked with the UNAIDS. It's a prevention of a treatment of HIV/AIDS program of the United Nations. And the headquarters is based in Geneva. And what I did is advocacy and fundraising work. So part of the fundraising effort, we organized a very successful gala dinner during Art Basel, the opening of Art Basel in Switzerland, and raised the funds among art collectors, business leaders, artists, and gallerists. That was, I think, 2017, 2018, former Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, attended, and also the UNAIDS chief, Michelle Sidibe, and many celebrities, even movie stars, all came to support this event. I believe we raised over 1 million Swiss francs, the equivalent to $1 million US to support HIV/AIDS program for United Nations in Africa, particularly. Yeah.
It's all very interesting. And you mentioned that you do a lot of work with the United States State Department. And how does someone just do that?
This is a part of an international leadership program. It's a cultural exchange between the United States and the rest of the world. It's called the International Visiting Leadership Program. It has started over almost 80 years ago, supported by both parties. And we got funding from US Congress. So each year, Department of State invites a few thousand, we call international leaders, some are very young leaders, to visit this great country. And I worked as an interpreter and also as a liaison to receive and facilitate their visit. Not only Chinese delegations, but also many international delegations to promote a mutual understanding between the United States and the rest of the world. Because it's very different when people read the news from media. Once they are here, many of them, maybe it's their first time to visit this great country. So usually they spend 2 or 3 weeks. After a few weeks, going around the US, usually for 5, 6 states, and talk to their counterparts, because these visitors are from different walks of life. They can be business leaders, academic leaders, even sometimes in the art field, museum curators or artists, or in the media. And we organize meetings to meet their American counterparts. There will be a lot of professional exchange programs for these visitors, and sometimes even with home hospitality. So many people are curious how American family live. So I really believe in this kind of cultural exchange and citizen diplomacy.
All very fascinating and all very important work. Now, Noelle, you received this very high honor in the country of France. You are a knight in the Legion of Honor. And for many people, they don't quite understand what that means. And could you describe a little bit about the work you did, I guess, in the country of France or elsewhere that put you in a situation where you received this knighthood? It's just fascinating.
Yes, maybe I can show you. This is the symbol. It is called Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur in French. It is the highest honor or distinction given by French government. A certificate, or I forget my certificate, signed by French president. In my case, President Macron, 2019. For both my United Nations career in the international development, or nowadays we call sustainable development, and my curatorial work in the art field. So it of course connected a little bit with my educational background. As soon as I left China over 30 years ago, I continued my education in Paris, Sorbonne. I went to law school, international law. So I learned French before even I learned speaking English. So even after I joined the United Nations, worked mostly in English-speaking countries, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, the United States, I still keep my French. And I can say I'm francophone and francophile. And participated in many French cultural events or educational activities. Even today, I still follow many French leaders' tweets. President Macron and Foreign Minister, or remember our ambassador friend, Francois Delattre. Now he's based in Germany. He was the one who knighted me 2019, and Jane, you were also in that ceremony. So I keep my French or French speaking alive. I really enjoy French culture, art, or even movies. So why I get this award? Many people were asking me, yeah, it's a lengthy process. First, I was nominated by the French mission to UN. I just mentioned for my United Nations work and also in the art field. And particularly for my effort, advocacy effort, of fundraising effort to support United Nations HIV/AIDS program. It was a new initiative at those days to create this partnership between Art Basel in Switzerland with United Nations, we call SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 SDGs. And also, I like to promote, because out of my passion, I promote French culture, French language, French art all over the world, in the US as well as in China. I did a television program in a French chateau, Chateau Celles-sur-Cher. It's a 4 hours drive from Paris. It's a beautiful chateau over 1,000 years old. So it's a television program talking about the cultural and historical heritage of this chateau and the surrounding areas. It was done in French and translated into Chinese, and it was posted in social media and also Chinese television channel, and which succeeded in attracting many tourists or students to visit this French heritage.
All very interesting and certainly noteworthy and very important for the country of France and really for the world. And I'm truly honored to be able to interview you, Noelle, because I know that you are a woman of great work and also a woman who also has a great title. Now, Noelle, this show is about philanthropy, and philanthropy is something that is so important to really the entire world. And through the work you've done, you've participated in many philanthropic endeavors and done a lot of great things to help this world. For our audience, would you define what philanthropy means to you? I know I have a definition. I wrote a book on philanthropy, but I'd like to hear what your definition is and how you encourage others to get involved in the philanthropic process.
Yes, I love your book. I think it's excellent. It's very inspiring, especially for young people. I think I mentioned before, philanthropy is a Greek word. It means love of humanity. So I interpret philanthropy in many ways or dimensions. It can be volunteerism. It can be giving not only in financial terms, but also your time, your energy, your ideas, or your advice to inspire others. Like you mentioned very well in your book, giving can be under many terms, and everybody can be in a position to give, not only a few wealthy people. And especially, I believe philanthropy and volunteerism are great American traditions. It's been going on for over 100 years. And in this country, I think it's really what I believe in America. We have so many great philanthropists before us, or many generous families. This is we have America who arrived where we are. Especially, I want to mention something. Unlike other countries, most of other countries, they have a Ministry of Culture. It's a government funding to support the museums or cultural institutions. But America, I'm sure you know, we don't have a ministry or department of culture. It's maybe part of our constitution. So major museums like Metropolitan Museum here in New York, or Guggenheim, or MoMA, or Washington, D.C. National Gallery of Art, Hirshhorn, all those major art institutions are supported or sustained by private funding, which means by many, many private foundations, business foundations, as well as great philanthropists like you and your husband.
Yes, well, as you know, I wrote a book on philanthropy called Successful Philanthropy: How to Make a Life by What You Give. That was published in 2016. And in my book, I write that anyone can be a philanthropist. If you don't have the funds or the money to give, you can give your time, your knowledge, and then when you have available resources, you can give a little. Now, of course, for people who have wealth, I believe we all have an obligation to give financially. Another thing I believe about philanthropy is that we must work together. And I personally serve on 8 charity boards, and about 4 of those boards receive government funding. So these are all United States charities based here in the United States. And when government, when business, when private individuals, when we all work together, we can achieve so much more. And so right now, we are living in a country, a great country, the United States of America, and there are literally thousands and thousands of charities. And you might say, well, I want to get involved in something. I'm interested in finding a cure for childhood cancer. How do I go about that? Well, very briefly, I'm going to tell you. You do that simply by first doing some research. Get on the internet and research charities that are involved in looking or finding a cure for childhood cancer. Next, what you might want to do is find a charity that has a local chapter, meaning a charity that has a group based in the area where you live, and reach out to them. And then, of course, do plenty of research. How do you do research? Well, you go back on the internet and you start reading periodicals about that charity. Read anything that's been written about that charity. Go to their website, request their financial statement if necessary, and talk to people that are involved. See how they like it. And from there, you can make a wise decision. I could go on and on and on about this, but this is a short show. I'm here to interview Noelle and hear from her, but I always like to give a little bit of the information that I have learned along the way in my research. And then by serving on 8 charity boards, I like to give you this information, my viewers, because you're important to me. And it's a tough decision when you choose a charity. Now, Noelle, you've done so much in the way of helping humanity. Getting back to China, is the COVID pandemic over in China? Do you know, or is it something we have to continue to worry about?
I think as a pandemic, probably it is over a long time ago. But it's kind of flu. Somewhere, somehow, there are always individual cases. But I don't think anywhere we have pandemic anymore. But I believe we always have to be careful when we go on plane or go on train, public crowd. You take some measures, or you wear masks. But it's safe now I believe, to travel to China. I'm planning myself to go there. It has been the longest time I haven't seen my family. It's over 3 years almost, yeah.
Well, that'll be very nice to see your family. And with the COVID situation, I have heard recently of a few cases cropping up, and I'm just hoping that what I hear is they're not very serious. And who knows if there are even cases that have not been properly diagnosed. I'm guessing they are COVID, but we're not hearing much of this, which is really great. And I wanted to talk to you about how you think we should get future generations involved in philanthropy, and how you think we can get people across the world involved in philanthropy. I know myself, I've been interviewed for many international publications about philanthropy, I think because I've written a book and people are just curious. But I want to hear about your interest in future generations and how we get them involved, and then how we get people around the world involved.
As we discussed before, I always believe we can link philanthropy with volunteerism, with our daily activities, sometimes even in a smallest way, especially for young people. Everybody dream of an interesting and meaningful life. But philanthropy can be meaningful as well as interesting, as well as fun, to open your horizon, to have a new experiences, to get involved with a new project, not only in the US, but also abroad, to know another country's culture. I just this is the second version of my book. I talked about this book 2 years ago. So this is the second version. This is also part of my effort to inspire young people. So the book title is Noelle, World Citizen and La Vie en Rose. It has highlighted my international journey from Shanghai to Paris to Africa and then New York. It has illustrated my United Nations work in sustainable development, as well as my curatorial work in the art field. So it has been a long journey, colorful, challenging, as well as rewarding. As I mentioned in the book, I always carry like Chinese cultural heritage, French or academic education, American optimism or American open spirit, as well as African sunshine. So what I want to tell young people, it's not, life is, of course, it's important to make a living. It's not about accumulation of wealth. Wealth, or whatever you put it, economic development, for me is a means to achieve your goals. The goals is to, I mean, everybody would like to be happy, individual happiness, or make a contribution to the society or to the world in large. So how to achieve your dream, how to make your resources best use, not only for yourself, but also helping others. And then make your own life happy, healthy, rewarding.
Very nice. And I know I write in my book that how do you get young people involved in philanthropy? Well, you first start by teaching them to be kind and to share. Mm-hmm. The next step is to surround young people with good role models, parents and teachers who are involved in the giving process, and get your children involved in small projects to help them become young philanthropists. I remember when I was young, I was a Girl Scout. I sold Girl Scout cookies. I went to 12 years of Catholic school where the nuns taught us the importance of giving back. And we often had projects to help maybe collect small amounts of money for underserved populations. And then my father was a school teacher, and he always brought home with him his keen interest in the future of his students and, of course, the family. So having role models, my teachers, my parents, and of course, my mother, who were interested in improving the welfare of others was very, very important. to my childhood and then to my future development as someone involved in philanthropy. And Noelle, you once told me that your mother was very involved in helping underserved people living in China. And I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, but it sounds like you had an excellent role model, your mother.
Oh,
And
yes, of course. Yeah, my mother was my first, very first inspiration. Unfortunately, she passed away 2 years ago. As I mentioned in our first interview, even with her very limited salary, she contributes a significant portion of her income to support the village children where she came from. It was, even those days, kind of unusual, but my father was also very supportive to her philanthropic ideas. Those days we even don't use that kind of it's kind of philanthropy, the fancy word. Just like you said, to be kind to others, to help others, to those in need. Yeah, like we talk about this with children in school in a very young age. I believe, Jane, not only yourself, your whole family, your two beautiful daughters, they are somehow all involved in volunteerism or philanthropy.
yes, and for the audience, when you give, you get. It's very rewarding. You feel good about what you're doing and you're helping somebody else. Noelle, we have about 30 seconds left. What would you like to leave the audience with today?
Thank you for your time and attention. It's a great pleasure to be back with Jane here. I just wish everyone happy, healthy life, and to get on with your work and while doing philanthropy to make your life more meaningful, more successful, and more fun.
Well, you've been a wonderful guest, and I want to thank you for all you do for the people across the globe. This concludes Successful Philanthropy. Our guest today, Noelle Xie. She is a global advocate for development and peace. She also is an art curator, author, and a woman who has received the highest honor in France. She's been knighted into the Legion d'Honneur in the country of France for her very good work, not only for France, but for all countries. I'm Jean Shafiroff, your host. I'll see you next week.